Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namah Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namani Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisheshaya Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatharini. जय हो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. We have already 7:10, sorry, 5:10. So we'll get started with today's class. So welcome you all to the online Bhagavad Gita second level course from ISKCON Mangalore. So today we'll be discussing about chapter 6, which is Dhyana Yoga. Yeah. So until yesterday, so we covered the first 5 chapters. Yeah? So yesterday was the Karma Yoga, right? So Karma Yoga including the Jnana. So we finished until then yesterday, and then today we'll start with Dhyana Yoga, right? In the last verses, right? So it was 5.27, right? So wherein Krishna actually hinted about Dhyana Yoga, right? He said that how do you control your mind and senses? Yeah. So to that, Krishna says that we can do that using Dhyana Yoga. Yeah. So chapter 6 focuses on Dhyana Yoga. And yesterday we saw the last verse, right? 5.29. Anyone remembers that verse? So it was Bhoktaram Yagnatapasam, right? And so in there we saw the peace formula also, right? So do we remember what was the peace formula? So one was that Lord Krishna is the benefactor of all sacrifices, right? And then the other one was that he is the proprietor of everything, and he is the only friend. Yeah. So Shrudam Sarva Bhutanam. He is the friend for all of them, all the living entities. So these three things we'll have to remember. So he is the proprietor. So he is the friend or the well-wisher of all the living entities. Yeah. And then he is the ultimate enjoyer. Okay. So if we know this peace formula, right? So all things would be on track, and then we'll not be entangled in this material world. Yeah. So the conditioning of the soul, and so we'll get out of this material entanglement. So when we know that these three things, yeah. So this was the last verse, yeah. So of 5.29, which is very important, which we spent some time yesterday in discussing. And today it is Dhyana Yoga, right? So in this chapter, right? So Krishna now will actually touch base Dhyana. So Dhyana Yoga is nothing but mostly it is Ashtanga Yoga, yeah. So how do we actually control our mind and senses? Yeah. And different stages of yoga. Yeah. So and how do you attain or say you envision Paramatma? Yeah. And so in this, right? So there are different steps. So like the initial one, so wherein it is the basic yogas, right? So which we start with asanas and all those things, right? So that stage is called yoga ruruksha stage. And then so what happens in the advanced stage, yeah, so which is nothing but Yoga Ruda stage. Yeah. So he'll talk through about all those things, and then say how does person in Dhyana Yoga, right? So when he advances, so initially first couple of verses until 8 verses, he'll speak about the initial stages of the Dhyana Yoga, and then he'll talk about the advanced stages of Dhyana Yoga. Okay. So, and post that, right? So he will talk about the vision of a perfect yogi. Yeah. So how does he see things? Yeah. And yeah, and the qualities. So we'll see all those things in the coming slides. So we'll just get started with this chapter now. Yeah. So we'll go through the slides, and in the initial verses, right, in 1 to 3, right, he actually touch bases little bit of karma yoga, which is nothing but nishkama karma yoga. Yeah. So Krishna says that so even if you want to perform ashtanga yoga, right, so here it is there. So advancing in yoga through detached work is nothing but so we'll have to detach our work. So that is Nishkama Karma Yoga. So though you are practicing yoga, right? So parallelly, you should actually do Nishkama Karma Yoga. Yeah. Then only once you are advanced, right? Slowly you can get out of this Nishkama Karma Yoga, and then you'll be fully into the advanced stage. Okay. So that is nothing but Yoga Ruda stage, giving up work. So until here, right, you'll have to do both things parallelly, and here on you can pick up only Yoga Ruda stage. Okay. And then these are further advancements, and then so how do we sit? Yeah. And say how does a yogi eat, and what are all the necessities of controlling the turbulent mind and all those things. Yeah? And at the end, he'll give the topmost yogi definition. Okay. Which is nothing but the connection to the next chapter. Okay. So here he says Ashtanga yogis like Nishkama Karma yogis engage in detached work to advance. So we'll have to do that. Okay. So we should not be attached to the work or to the result. Okay. Say we should, whatever work is being given, we do it perfectly, and we should not be attached to the results of it. Okay. And then this is what we saw, right? So there are three doers, right? So the Jiva desires, Paramatma sanctions, and then we get the work done through the three modes of material nature. Yeah. So this is the cycle. Yeah. So one desires, the other sanctions, and then material energy does it. Yeah. So in the three modes of material form. And here, right, this is the Nishkama Karma Yoga, right? One who purifies his vision and activity by Nishkama Karma Yoga can further advance by practice of meditation on super soul by Ashtanga Yoga method. So first thing is we should follow this. Then only we can one is eligible for doing the Ashtanga Yoga. Yeah. And by meditating on the super soul, right? So which is nothing but the Paramatma form. So this is the Paramatma form. Okay. This is basically called the Vishnu Murti form. Yeah. So you see, Shankha, Chakra, Gada, and Padma. So these are the four things. Yeah. So this form is nothing but the Paramatma form. Yeah. So one can develop devotion to him in Bhakti Yoga, understanding that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, ultimate controller, and best friend. So this is what we saw, right? So 5.29. So those is an important thing. Yeah, we just covered it, and these are again from connection from 5 to 6. Yeah. So knowledge increases, not body the detached. This is basically Jnana Yoga, consciousness increases, super soul. Yeah? So if you go chapter wise also, right? First chapter we saw what? Arjuna's confusion, right? And the reasons for not to fight the battle, right? And second chapter, we got to know that we are not the body, we are the spirit, right? And third was do Nishkama Karma Yoga, yeah. And the fourth one was what? So Jnana Yoga, or say transcendental knowledge, right? And then fifth was Karma Yoga, so with knowledge, yeah. So wherein we got to know what is soul, what is super soul, and then how work is getting done through the three modes of material nature, and then the difference between soul and super soul, yeah, and who is the benefactor, yeah, all those things we got to know. So here in this verse, right, 6.1, Krishna says that before practicing advanced stages of Ashtanga Yoga, one must be purified by practicing of Nishkama Karma Yoga. So Nishkama Karma Yoga is basically glorified, yeah, in the first two verses. Yeah. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and whose work is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs duty. So it is he's saying about the renouncers. Yeah? We should not renounce anything. Yeah? So rather we should work. Yeah? So actually this eightfold yoga system is nothing but Ashtanga yoga. Yeah? So which is basically meant for controlling the mind and senses, which is very difficult in the age of Kali. Okay. So this yoga system, right? We'll go through also, right? So, and what Arjuna says, yeah, we'll get to know that also about this yoga practice, which Krishna tells, right, in this chapter. So then Arjuna also will give his verdict, yeah. So we'll know about it. And say the Lord emphasizes on karma yoga, yeah. So we should work with the Lord always in mind in absolute surrenderance, yeah. So must work in Krishna consciousness as though we are obligated to him. Yeah? So this is nothing but this particular thing, right? So this is an analogy, say wherein so we are the part and parcel of the Lord, right? So and then we should work in tandem with the Lord. Yeah. So we should not work in the reverse way. Yeah, that will have an ill effect. So it is nothing but the parts of the body work for satisfaction of the whole body. So if you want, so everything should be in sync, right? Else the body will not function. Yeah? So that is what the analogy which has been given here. Yeah, and yeah, this is what. So this is the sannyasis, right? The forced renounce order we should not do, right? So we should continue doing what we are doing, and then slowly, once we are advanced, then we should leave all those things. Yeah, it's not that all of a sudden we leave everything, yeah, and then become a sannyasi. So it's not possible. Yeah, and even right, basically he should not have any self interest. Yeah. So like most of the yogis, so yogis are interested in what siddhis. Yeah. So they just want to do a show off. That's the reason they do all penances and all those things. Yeah. So even say the sannyasis, right? So who want to get liberated, right? So they want to become one with the Lord. So in both the places, right? So we have got what selfishness. Yeah. So rather, we should have sannyasi should have a mood of this, yeah. So which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said in, right? Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye. Mama janmani janmeshware bhavatat bhakti rahe tuketve. So this is from Shikshakstakam. So we know in, right? So this should, so we should not, so yogi should not look for dhanam, or say he should not look for followers, or he should not look for money, or any beautiful ladies follow up and all those things he should not have in. So That's the renounced order. Yeah, it should be in that way. So here he says, what is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself with the supreme. Okay. So yoga is nothing but linking oneself with the supreme. Yeah. So that is actual yoga. Yeah. And most of the modern world yoga cycles or the yoga institutes which are there, right? They are only doing business. Yeah. So no one teaches what is yoga. So we are only doing some exercises and just to actually relax. Yeah. So relax the body and mind, right? And then we have different problems, right? So these days with the sedentary jobs, backache, neck ache, indigestion, all those things, and then we go to the yoga tutor, and then he or she actually guides us through some of the asanas, and then so we feel comfortable. Okay, so this is, we feel that this is yoga, but no, that's not the yoga. So yoga is different. So yoga is meant to get our connection with the Lord. Yeah, and then we'll have to follow the 8 steps, the Ashtanga yoga steps, wherein we actually at the end, right, we focus at the Lord. So there are 8 steps, then only you'll go to samadhi, so wherein you'll focus, or you'll actually get all your time devoted towards the Lord. So that is the actual practice of yoga. But these days, say yoga is free mix, right? So even so, we everything, right? So we'll see through those slides also, wherein we have both opposite sexes, right? Say they actually do yoga. So that's not the actual yoga. Yeah, it should be done in a secluded place, and then it should be done in ekaki, right? So you should not have anyone. So we'll see through those slides. Yeah. So what is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself with the supreme. So he says here, right? So once again, it is given here. Okay. So to become to attach to Krishna and work from him, thus controlling the mind and senses. So this is what the actual yoga or the bhakti yoga is. Here, Ashtanga yoga is to give up attachment to the fruits of work, control the senses, focus the mind within. Okay. So here we'll focus on the Paramatma. Okay. So Ashtanga yoga is nothing but give up attachments to the fruit. So you don't, this is Nishkama Karma Yoga, control the senses, focus the mind within. So that stage is called Ashtanga Yoga. Yeah? And yeah, so yoga by practice restrain the senses from material and attachments. That is the reason you, so, so the yogis by practice they restrain the senses of material attachments. So that is what, so initially we do it with the yoga ruruksha stage, right? So wherein we do asanas, and then pranayam, yeah, niyama, and all those things. So yeah, we just spoke in, right? So about the Gyanis, and they have got the selfish motivation around it, about the yogis and the Gyanis. Yeah. So for one who is a neophyte in the eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means. Okay, this is nothing but Nishkama Karma Yoga. Yeah. And for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Okay. This is advanced, yeah. And then this is big for the beginners. Yeah? Neophyte is nothing but a beginner. Yeah? And in the next slide, we'll also see through what are the different stages. Yeah? So the process of linking a living entity with the supreme is called yoga. Yeah? And then there is ladder also. So we'll see that ladder in the next slide. So wherein the lowest is the material condition, and then so we move on to the upper stage, which is nothing but bhakti yoga. Yeah. So beginning of the ladder is called yoga ruruksha, and then highest rung. So this is in Ashtanga yoga, right? Yoga ruruksha stage is the beginning, and yoga ruda is the highest. Okay. Yeah. And then this is the ladder of spiritual development. So first it is karma kanda. Yeah. So here we do whatever work we do, right? So we perform the rituals in return of something. Yeah. So that is karma kanda. And then karma yoga or nishkama yoga is karma is nothing but you renounce the fruits. You are not looking for the results of the fruits. Yeah. Yeah, and one more you can add here, which is step -1, which is nothing but animal life. Yeah, so wherein so we only do the four things. Yeah, sleeping, mating, defending, and eating. Yeah, so that is -1. So wherein that's animal life. Yeah, so that is not covered here, but yes, that is all. That is also you can cover. That is the -1. This is 0. This is 1. Yeah. And step 2 is nothing but renouncing fruit, speculative knowledge about Brahman and austerity. Okay, this is Jnana Yoga. Okay, so this we went through in, and then we are going through this. Okay, so wherein you are doing Nishkama Karma Yoga, renouncing fruits plus knowledge plus control of minds and senses of the eightfold path, meditation on Paramatma soul within the heart. So to come to this stage, right, we should at least have these mental, we should be purified, and then only we can go here. Yeah, but in bhakti yoga you can do a loving service at any instance of your life. Yeah, so at any time of your life you can start it. Yeah, this is the ladder, and then we will even see the ashtanga yoga ladder also, we will see, yeah, in the coming slides. A person is said to be elevated in yoga when having renounced all material desires. Yeah, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in puritive activities. So he doesn't have any material desires. Yeah? Okay. Or he doesn't act for sense gratification. Yeah? So this is what now we'll get to know. So yoga, ruda, and other ones. Yeah? So a yogi may even give up nishkama karma yoga when his mental control reaches the stage of regarding well-wishers, the envious, the pious, and sinner equals. So in the next section on right, the focus would be on the mind, because in yoga, right, the center stage is on mind. Yeah. Okay. So this is actually yoga ruruksha stage, a neophyte stage, and then this is advanced stage. Yeah. So he must work because he is not detached, or he is not pure or advanced. Yeah. Okay. And he practices part-time asanas and perhaps pranayam while engaging in karma yoga. So he does both the things, initially. Okay. And then he does not act for sense gratification. Once he is above the ladder, right, he doesn't do all these things. And then he renounces all material desires. So at this time, right, he gives up nishkama karma yoga and practices yoga full time as he has full knowledge. Okay. And now say Ashtanga Yoga, right? The main the component is mind. Okay. So unless we control the mind, right? So the yoga, right? So the yoga, the essence of the whole yoga is to control the mind. Yeah. So here in this shloka it says that one must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. Okay, so this is very important, right? So mind, right? So if you use for good things, it'll it'll be an friend. So if at all we use it for the other way, right, for negative things, then it will become an enemy. Yeah? So because we'll have to train the mind properly. Because the conditioned soul, right? So he is actually entangled, right? So he, because he cannot control the mind, right? So he is entangled like in a spider web, right? Say an insect is stuck, right? So we are also stuck. Yeah. So with the yoga system, right, we can control the mind and draw it away. So we can actually attach to the Lord and then detach it from the material world. Yeah. So material. So from basically from the sense objects. So mind control is basically to control the senses. Yeah. So which is nothing but so eyes, nose, ears. Yeah. So tongue. So we have five things, right? So by hearing, right, and by seeing, and then by smelling, yeah, and by touching, and then by tasting. So all these senses would be controlled. So hence the mind has to be controlled, yeah, and it should not be allowed to actually get attracted to the material world nature, yeah. So whatever attractions we have in the material world, right, the mind should not be allowed, yeah, else we'll again get entangled. Yeah. So the best thing would be that we do Krishna service, right? So in that the mind and body, everything is engaged, and then we don't think in other senses. Yeah. And um, even for the living entities, right? So basically for human beings, the mind is the cause of all the bondage. Yeah. Because it is always absorbed in sense gratification, right? So in one thing or the other. Yeah. So if we detach from the sense object, right, then we get liberated. Yeah. So if we have an uncontrolled mind, right, so what happens? So basically, this is very common in this day and age, right? So wherein we have depression, stress, hypertension, yeah, and diseases, loss. What else? Even we don't have trust. All those things, right? So disturb mind. It's very difficult. Yeah. So and basically our eyes, nose, tongue, ears, and skin, right? So whatever they perceive, right? So those things actually are fed to the mind, right? And then it becomes the storehouse. Yeah. So whatever it perceives, right? So hence, and then we have that picture, right? So wherein so that five horses picture, yeah. So it's there in the next slide. So here, if so, this is intelligence, right? And this is the soul, yeah, and this is mind, and then these are the five senses. So intelligence, right? So without the driver, right? So the driver is the intelligence, right? So we'll have to sharpen this, and then because this is the one which does the decision, yeah. So which is good and bad, right? Only intelligence can give instructions, yeah. If at all we are carried away with the mind, because mind is very instant, yeah. So whatever it looks, right, it actually has one say whatever perception it has, right, it gives, and then it says react immediately, yeah? But no, so we'll have to actually learn to actually give importance to the intelligence, wherein it is the decision maker, yeah? Okay. And then these are basically the six enemies of mind, yeah? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Matsya, Moha, Mada. So lust, anger, greed, envy, illusion, and intoxication. There's nothing but madness. Yeah. So the best thing is do services to Krishna, right? So we'll be engaged the whole day in one thing or the other, and then we don't have to actually go through all these cycles and feed unnecessarily to the mind. Yeah. So bring Krishna here, so all these things will go away. Say all these incoming arrows will become outwards. So one who has conquered the mind is the best friend. Yeah? So if you have not done, then the mind will become the greatest enemy. That is very true, right? And yeah, it's the same. It's all extension of what we spoke in, right? So for one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached. Yeah, if we have con- conquered or controlled the mind, then we have reached the super soul. Okay. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. Yeah. So he doesn't care for all these things. Okay. Man up, man. Yeah. And then even we saw right heat and cold. Yeah. So he doesn't look into all those things. And a person is said to be established in self realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Yeah? Such a yogi is situated in transcendence and is self controlled. So he is very self controlled, right? Even he looks at the pebble and the gold as the same. We actually touched yesterday, right? Yeah. So this slide. So this is what one who is self-realized, right? Who can actually look Paramatma or who looks every soul, right? When he looks at a living being, if he looks living being as a soul, right? So if we go to that learner stage for him, right? Everyone is same. And then for him, he doesn't actually think that gold is more precious and then people doesn't. Yeah. For him, everything is same. And with more advancement, these are all the advanced stage. Yes, it's not at the beginning stage. So when we advance in, right, so all these things comes. Yeah. So he sees honest well-wishers, yeah, affectionate benefactors, the neutral meditators, the envious friends and enemies, pious and sinners as equal. So he doesn't differentiate, yeah, among these things, right? So whatever we have, either friend, enemy, whatever it is, everything is same for him. Yeah. And this is 6.9. And now we are moving towards the yoga ruda stage. Yeah? So anyone remembers what is this particular episode? You can raise your digital hand if you remember.
Sorry, Prabhuji, not easy to recall.
Okay. So this is Durvasa Muni, yeah? And then this is Ambarish Maharaj. Yeah? So we'll just read the text and then I'll actually explain this. A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral mediators, the envious friends and enemies, yeah, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind. Yeah. See, he actually looks everyone, sinners, pious, everyone with an equal vision. Yeah. So this particular picture, right? This is Durvasa Muni, and then this is Ambarish Maharaja. So in here, right? So what happened? So this is basically an episode so wherein it was the next day of Ekadashi. Yeah? So wherein Durvasa Muni is a powerful yogi. Okay, so he can act. He was very powerful, and say he's known for his anger. Okay, uh, and then for both the things, yeah, and even he gives benedictions also very easily. Okay, so he visited, but yeah, so because of all those cities and these things, right? He was having a little bit of pride, and on the other side, right? So Maharaja Ambarish, right? So he was very pious, yeah. So he was a king, but he was a Raja Rishi, yeah. So he knew all the devotional thing also. So he had all the opulent things, right? So because he was a king, right? He was fully opulent, but still he was a pure devotee of the Lord. Okay, so he what happened is the next day was Parana time, right? So we'll have to break the fast, right? So at that time, you all know, right? After Ekadashi, we'll have to fast the break at a particular time. Do we know that? So when on Dwadashi, right, we should break the time. There is a time wherein we'll have to break our fast. Yeah. So if you don't know, then actually download any of the Vaishnava calendars or buy a Vaishnava calendar when you visit to any of the ISKCON temples, right? So there you'll find it's again local, yeah, so local to your own city. Okay, so ISKCON publishes the local calendar also. Say what is the time? Yeah? At times we have 2 hours, and at times maybe we have less time also. 10 minutes, 15 minutes also it will be there. So it varies. So we'll have to break our fast during that time only. Okay. So they had to break the fast, and then Durvasa Muni said that I'll go and take a dip and come. And then because he was a host, right? Maharaj Ambarish was waiting, but at the other side, right? This Parana time also was coming closer. So because he had to break the fast, right? He just took one sip of Charanamrit. Okay. And then because the time was finishing, so he took it. And by the time Durvasa Muni came, right, the Parana time was over. Okay. And then he entered the assembly, and then he got angry, saying that Durvasa Muni did not care for him. And then he being a host, right? So he took the prasadam, or say he broke the fast. Yeah. He got angry, and then he created this demon out of his mystic power. And then he actually created this demon to kill Ambarish Maharaj. Yeah. And Ambarish Maharaj didn't protest. Okay. He said he didn't protest, and then rather he went into trance, and then he was only thinking about the Lord. Yeah. So there is a famous verse in Bhagavatam also. Yeah. Saveva Mana Krishna. So how did he engage all his limbs and all his senses in devotion, right? So that is a very famous shloka, yeah. So which you all can read through. So wherein he was not agitated, yeah. So he actually engaged all his senses for the Lord, yeah. And then what happened is because Krishna actually can ignore if somebody is actually accusing, or say he's speaking ill of Krishna, right? So he can tolerate that, but if anything which happens to his pure devotee, right, he can't tolerate. So what happened is the Vishnu Chakra, the Sudarshan Chakra came in, and then it actually killed this demon. and it was next it targeted Durvasa Muni, yeah? And then Durvasa Muni has to run helter skelter. Yeah? So he went to all the dhams, Mahesh Dham and Indra, everywhere he went, and then nobody could solve his problem. And at the end, he went to Krishna, and then he asked, say, can you take this back? Then Krishna said that, say, you will have to go and ask my devotee, who is nothing but Ambarish Maharaj. If you fell at his feet, and then if he agrees that he actually he gives you any mercy, then so these things will be settled down. Else, so I also can't help. Yeah. So, and then Durvasha Muni has to run in to Ambarish Maharaj and fell at his feet. And for Ambarish Maharaj, that was an embarrassment. So he was thinking embarrassing situation. So what is this? But yeah, so he gave mercy, and then the Sudarshan was taken back. Yeah. So here, if you look in, right, he being a yogi, right, he should be more perfect, right? So yogis lose their tapobalam, yeah, say for unnecessary things, right? So for anger, for ego, all these things they lose in. But at the flip side, if you see a Vaishnava, right, even though he was doing so much ill, right, he was accepting all those things, yeah. So that is what that stage will have to attain, yeah. So wherein you're not envious, and then you are ready to forgive the sinners also, and then you see both of them in equal mind. So that is the difference. Even if you attain all yoga powers and all, right? So here the basic lesson which we have to understand is about the yogis and the Vaishnavas. Yeah. So yogis, due to their old vasanas, right? So they get agitated for one thing or the other. Similarly, Vishwamitra, Menaka, right? And then next time it was Ramba, right? He lost his tapobalam twice. So, but though he again practices, he practiced. He got a lot of yogic power, and then he got say elevated. But yeah, so the other thing is say we can Saubara Muni, yeah, who got agitated by seeing the fishes, right? So that someday we'll go through that story. Yeah? But for today, we'll stop here for this. Yeah, even therein, right? He loses because he used to meditate in the water. Okay. So all these days, yogis or whatever we have, right? So they can't live in water for more than 10 minutes or half an hour. So he did tapasya underwater for years. Okay. And he also lost the tapobalam. Yeah, but again, those were very elevated yogis, yeah. So who again actually realized, and then so they again performed the penances, and then they went back to Godhead. So which is difficult, yeah, for us at least. So that is the story between yogis and Vaishnavas, yeah. And the other thing is, yeah, this is the ladder, yeah. So this is the Ashtanga Yoga ladder. So Yoga Ruruksha starts here. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara. So till here, right? So we'll have to work. And then from Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. So this is, and the topmost are, so from here you can actually live the renunciation, and so you will be in this stage, yeah. So all these stages we'll have to pass through. Yeah? So then only we'll reach Samadhi. Samadhi is nothing but complete trance. Yeah. So yeah, a transcendentalist should always engage his mind and self in relation with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secular place. Yeah. So this is how the yoga should be done. Yeah. And how it shouldn't be done are there in the next slides. And so this is what Krishna prescribes. Yeah? So this is what is been prescribed by the our scriptures, right? Yogi yunjata statam atmanam rahasi stitah ekaki yatchitam nirashir parigraha. So here one must, yunjita is nothing but one must concentrate on Krishna. Yeah. And Rahasi is nothing but in a secluded place. Yeah? Sthita being situated. Ekaki. You see the word ekaki, right? So ekaki is nothing but alone. Yeah? And nirashiha. So it's nothing but nirashir is nothing but without being attached or attracted by anything. Yeah? So if we do yoga, Ashtanga yoga in that way, right? So then we can actually see the Paramatma, and then we can move to the higher stage. Yeah. So this is how yoga should be done. Yeah. You should be in a secluded place like this where you don't have any disturbance. Yeah. And the way we shouldn't do yoga is this one modern day yoga, right? Say, you sit on chair and whatnot, all these things. You'll bury half thing. This is in Himalayas. This is in hot summer. Yogis, and then this is modern yoga. They're doing yoga one way, they're doing something, they're doing something else. All these things are big no. Okay. So Ashtanga yoga is nothing but eight-limbed connection with the Lord. Okay. Here it is. Let's start with yama. External disciplines, niyama, internal disciplines, asana, postures, pranayama, breath control, pratyahara, withdrawal of senses, dharana, concentration, dhyana, meditative absorption. Samadhi is nothing but union and integration. So this is the yoga system. Say none of the yoga institutes might be teaching this. Yeah. Say that we have got, this is even big houses, right? Nobody goes through this. And we will fit in all our verses, right? So in these different categories from yama, niyama, asana, whatever we spoken, right? Those eight limbs will fit in all those verses which we have, right? 6.10. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. We just saw him, right? And niyama is nothing but he should control eating, sleeping, working, and recreation. Okay. This also we'll see. Okay. And from 11 to 14 is nothing but this is going to come or we'll cover here itself. So like when we are practicing yoga, right, in a secluded place, right, so like this. So or the other picture also, so you can look for, so wherein, right, you should actually lay down grass, right? So kusha grass should be put, and then on top of it, right, you put and then you should be in a secluded place. Yeah, secluded place is nothing but like a pilgrimage place. Yeah, like Rishikesh or Vrindavan or somewhere. So it should be a secluded place, and then you should actually look for a place where you don't have disturbance, and then you actually put grass first, and then cover it with a deer skin. Okay. So basically, why deer skin? Because if you sit on it, right, on deer skin, all these reptiles and all, they'll not come in. Okay. The seat should not be too high or low, right? And then one should, sorry, I said secluded place, right? It is sacred place. Yeah, it should be a sacred place, like the pilgrimage place, and then secluded in the sense it should be like in this jungle. And you should have kusha grass on top of it, a deer skin, so that the reptiles or other things, small animals, don't come in and disturb you. And on top of it, a soft cloth. Yeah, and then you should sit in a position which is straight. uh, all your body, neck, head should be erect, and then you should stare steadily at the tip of nose. So your eyes should actually steadily look at the tip of your nose. Your eyes should not be closed, nor they should be open. If you close, then there is a chance that you'll fall asleep. Yeah, and then if you open, then there is a chance that you'll get agitated towards the material things. Okay, so that is what asana is. Okay, pranayama is nothing but practicing, so stopping of the movement of air. So you'll actually do reverse. So you'll control the breath in such a way that outgoing breath will become incoming, and incoming will become outgoing. Okay, so that is pranayam. So this we covered in the last chapter. Yeah, so this thing, so 5 point, in the fifth chapter we covered it. And then pratyahara is cessation of material existence. 6.18 is discipline in mental activities. Yeah, and dhyana. So this is the whole purport itself is this much only. So as a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. Okay. And samadhi is nothing but one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. So this will be coming in the next class. We'll read these things. This intend in the actual freedom from all miseries. So all these things are covered. Okay. So we'll cover a couple of more slides and then finish today. So this is the rungs. Yeah. So even earlier also we saw, right? But first is karma yoga and jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, and bhakti yoga. So this is 6.16. There is no possibility of one becoming a yogi. Okay. If one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. Okay. So if we are not controlling the urges of sleep, right, or um, eating habits, then we cannot become an yogi. Yeah. So the next verse also says the same thing. Yeah. So wherein it actually tells us, okay, say we should not overeat or we should not eat less. So we should actually eat whatever is required for the body. Similarly, we should not oversleep or we should not sleep less. Okay. So that is discussed in the next verse. It is very clearly discussed. Okay. So here it says that yukta ahara viharasya yukta chetasa karmashu yukta swapno bodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. Okay. Here it says regulation. Yeah. Yukta ahara is nothing but we'll have to regulate eating. Yeah. And viharasya is recreation. And yukta chetasa is nothing but we should work whatever is required to maintain the body. Yeah. And the other one is swapna bodhasya is nothing but sleep. So this is basically sleep and getting awake. Yeah. So this is what is being discussed. Yeah. So herein, right? So we should not eat to the neck. Okay. So if you feel that you have got some tasty items and so all your favorite dishes are actually served, right? So basically what happens is we eat food, or say whenever prasadam or something is served, right? So we eat, and then at last when the gulab jam is served, right, we try to adjust the gulab jam, right? So already the stomach is full, it says no. But when you see a gulab jamun or a rabdi, or you see something a delicious sweet coming in, right, or a rasgulla, and you'll try to adjust your posture also, you'll try to adjust, and then you'll actually have that also, right? So we'll have to control that, yeah. And similarly sleep, right? So we should not eat so much that you sleep for more hours. So overeating leads to what? Sleeping, right? So you become lazy, and then you snore, and then you sleep, right? So and then once these two are in toss, right? So then everything goes for a toss, yeah. So even for the eating habits, right? Even this comes in Bhagavatam, okay? In Bhagavatam, it also uh, tells like how much or how should we fill our stomach, yeah? So if so there are 4 quarters in the stomach, right? So then half of the quarters should be filled with the food which we need for our nourishment, right? And then one portion, so 2 portions should feed it with the food, yeah. One portion with water, yeah, and leave the other portion, right? So that 25% we'll have to leave it. So for digestion, for the air, yeah, so that the combustion happens and then the digestion process happens. Even I believe this is the same version in the Ayurvedic also, yeah. So we should not fill all the 4 portions, yeah. Then all these things pop up, yeah. So this is the next section, yeah. So wherein one should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith, and not be deviated from the path. Yeah. One should not abandon exception all material desires born of mental speculation, and thus control the senses. Yeah. So this is all controlling the senses is being mentioned. Yeah. Gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence sustained by full conviction, and thus mind should be fixed on the self and should think of nothing else. So this is all nothing but the mind thinking of only the Paramatma. Yeah. So the next verse says, from wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of self. You see, our mind is like a monkey. Yeah, this is the apt picture. Okay. So whenever our mind behaves like a monkey, right? So we should actually discipline it and then bring bring it back under our control. So yeah. Okay. I think it's already 6 minutes past. Okay. 6. We'll stop here for today. Hare Krishna. Any questions? We'll take it up and pose that. Okay. This one. Did everyone fill the attendance? Did we not get the attendance sheet? I think Mataji has shared it, right?
Yes, because I have marked it.
Okay. If you have not marked it, and then even the quizzes, right? So do the quizzes also. Okay. Pankaj Prabhu, you have something to ask for?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna. Dhanavad.
Prabhuji, so I have, Divya, I have three questions, so I'll ask first two, one, two. What is a Shankya philosophy? It is like, it is by Lord Kapila. So, who is Lord Kapila, and how is it different from the philosophy by Lord Krishna, or is it the same, both of them? And second is like, when we consider like Krishna consciousness, like we don't we avoid the one of the principle is no meat eating. So
Hmm.
when we believe that we should not cut or kill any animal, then how come the performing animal sacrifice was like I read in Gita only, like it was religious in when it
mm,
came for the religious activity, wherein
mm,
where in first place we are saying that no one should be harmed because again
mm,
everybody is like God's own
mm,
creation.
mm,
So, but then again we are again also we to fulfill something we are sacrificing the
mm,
animals, and we say that no, it is good for it. So they
mm.
wanted to understand. I'll ask third question later. Hare Krishna.
Okay. The first question, right, about Sankhya, right? So Kapila Deva, right? So Kapil Deva is also an incarnation of Lord Krishna. Okay. So there are two Kapilas. Okay. So in the market, right? So most of the Sankhya which is being spoken is spoken by the other uh, intellect. Okay. So, but we should not follow it. Yeah. This Sankhya, which is in the Bhagavatam. Okay. So that is being told by Lord Kapila Deva. Okay. And there is a book also being written. That's the reason, because there was a lot of confusion among the general mass, right? So that's the reason Prabhupada has written a book called Sankhya. So which is nothing but so I think the book's name is Kapili Deva, the son of Devahuti. Yeah. So we should only follow that. Okay. That answers first question, Prabhu.
Prabhu, but like we know Chaitanya Prabhu was a incarnation of again Krishna and Srimati Radharani.
Uh,
When did the Lord Kapila came? Like okay, sorry, I actually have no idea about Lord Kapila, but
yeah, yeah. So
I
Lord Kapila is not in this age. So it was way long. Okay. And so I think that's third or fourth incarnation of the Lord. Okay. So that you'll get in Canto 3. Okay. You want more details about Lord Kapila's teachings, right? So Lord Kapila actually gave all this Sankhya philosophy. Okay. So wherein even at that time, right? So I'll give you one example, so wherein you'll understand everything. Yeah. So in those days, right? So when it was, we don't know the age and time also, right? So when there was no science and all those things, right? So at that time, he has actually given the details of the child's birth. Okay. So what happens from the day one to the ninth month when the child is delivered? So how the child grows in, when the conscious comes in the child, when the limbs grow. Okay. See, he has given every calculation with days. Okay. So that is the kind of Sankhya which was being given, which was spoken by Lord Kapila Deva. Okay. So that's something which you can actually understand if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3. Okay. And so, what was your next question, Prabhu? So, it was about meat eating, right?
yes, sir, which is when we consider meat eating as a very bad thing, then
Yeah.
again
So, whatever sacrifice were done, right, Prabhu, so in the past, so whatever animal sacrifice was being done, right? So, those were authorized. Okay. And if at all they used to do at that time, right? So in those days, if there was a sacrifice of a horse or an cow, not cow, basically a horse or some other animal, right? Say at that time they had that power, so wherein they could transmigrate that soul to a human form, or they used to liberate it. Okay. So that was the kind of, they used to do only with the mantras. Yeah. So they used to have that power, so wherein they used to sacrifice the animal with the mantras and all, and then they could transmigrate. Okay. They gave liberation from the lower species to the higher species. Okay, they either depending upon the situation, right? So they used to give liberation. Okay, so that was the power at that time. So it's not like the sacrifices which are done these days, right? So for anything and everything, right? They say that we should cut a goat, we should cut those many animals and these things, right? So it was not in that injunction. Yeah. Okay. So whenever it was done through the shastric way, and then they used to liberate it. Yeah. It's not that for our, so now what sacrifices we are doing it, Prabhu. So whatever we are doing it, right? Majority of them are the sacrifices are done to satisfy our tongue. Okay. So that is prohibited. Okay. So whatever sacrifice now they are done, so what they are doing? So they are doing it for themselves only, right? So all animal sacrifices are done for what? To actually enjoy the taste buds of the tongue, nothing else. Yeah. So
Yes,
what
yes.
was your third question, Prabhu?
Prabhuji, if no one else has a question, so I can go ahead. Shall I?
Yeah. Anyone has any question want to ask? No. Go ahead, Prabhu. I will
Yes,
wrap it
Prabhuji.
up
So,
with this question. So it's
yes.
already 6:15. Yeah.
So this is my last question, but it is more of like practical way to understand how I can take it as a in a Krishna conscious way. So Prabhuji, recently we are hearing of again new violence is coming up, and we also saw there was again there's again news that a youth like sacrificing their life for protecting the people. So Prabhuji, like they may be or they may not be aware that again we are the soul and not this body, but and they are still able to sacrifice their lives. But when it comes to personally to me or to any other question, so any other person, so it would be like if such situation would come up to us, there would be a I would still feel like I would still get scared to come in front and try to protect someone else because the fear of getting hurt or fear of that pain that will come up when someone would cut my throat or no whatever it is we had that time. So that fear, how to overcome that, I already know that I'm soul, I'm not this body, but still this fear is stopping. Then Prabhuji, what according to you should be done in such situation when we actually see like there's an injustice, and what should be done if like for a Krishna conscious person by a Krishna conscious person for the society.
See,
So this
first,
is my
the
doubt,
first thing
Prabhu.
is, Prabhu, so we are not an elevated devotees. Yeah. So we are just beginning. We are sadhakas. Okay. And so we are just learning. And then say we are still entangled in the Maya only. Okay. So we are not above Maya where we see things differently. Nothing. Uh, so we have we have not elevated to that place. So wherein so we are not spiritually that advanced. So wherein we can actually see things differently. Yeah, so when anything comes on us, right? Say unlike other people, right? So we will also behave like in the material stuff only. See, think of Arjuna himself, right? He himself on the battlefield when he had so much of power, and then he actually um, basically he fought with Lord Shiva. He got Pashupatastra and all those things, right? He had so much of power and intelligence. So he himself was bewildered. Yeah. So what to talk about ourselves? So we are nowhere. So if and in general sense, right? If you are asking about what to do in so one thing is if it is in your control, right, Prabhu? So then you can actually talk or say you try to mitigate things or whatever you can do. If it is not in our control, right? So we'll have to leave it to whatever justice is there in the place at that time, right? So we'll have to actually look for it because So we are not into that elevated stage, yeah? And then the circumstances are also different, right, Prabhu? So it may not. So we don't know so where the circumstances is, yeah, and even we don't know what is happening, right? So we may be seeing only one part of the problem, so we don't know the other problem also, yeah. So all those things comes with a lot of experience and lot of knowledge. Then only we can actually think whether this is a problem, so wherein we need to intervene, and then say how we can solve this and all those things, right? And majority of the materialistic problems, right, you can't solve it from. Okay.
But Prabhuji, then what actually differentiates us from such brave souls who are just like in their 20s or 21, like they stood up and they unarmed, they fought with no, all the wrong people and they gave up their life. So we
So
are Krishna conscious people. We know so many things. They don't know that. Okay, the one who actually sacrificed, they don't know, but still they are able to conquer all these things, and they gave up their life for the betterment of society. So then
so that's
I
different, Prabhu. So actually, so whatever is for the society and all those things, right? So those things are different, yeah. So w- give me any specific examples. What are you talking? Are you talking about terrorists or what are you
No,
talking?
Prabhuji, no, Prabhuji. The person like he didn't think of himself. He actually thought of all the women and children, and he thought that he was just like 21 or 22,
Mm,
3 years
mm,
old, a small boy, educated
yeah,
boy. So he came up and he stood and he tried to help every women and children, and he unarmed. He helped
yeah.
everyone, and later he was shot, and later he was again while taking to hospital he was beheaded and his ambulance was brought. So this brave soul, like they knew the repercussions they would be facing, but still they come up and to be honest, like they are also not Krishna conscious people. They